Support for WUWM podcasts comes from University School of Milwaukee, fulfilling a values-based mission of developing learners, fostering leaders, and preparing citizens for pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. More information at usm.org/mission.
You're listening to Lake Effect Spotlight from WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR station. Here's one of our favorite conversations about what's happening in the city.
We're going to be looking at how artificial intelligence is impacting education.
For that, WUWM education reporter Katherine Kokal takes us on a trip to Ronald Reagan High School on the city's far south side.
It's a sunny Friday afternoon at Reagan High School, right before the end of the school year. The students have already left for the day when I meet Brant Champion, an 11th and 12th grade science teacher. Today, Champion is showing me how he uses an AI tool called Notebook LM in class. He creates study guides, games to help students review material, and even generates podcasts based on his class notes.
Go ahead.
Would you like to build one or see one in action?
Oh, no, I don't know. How about let's build one while I
He doesn't
record?
just ask a chatbot to create an interactive study guide about a topic. Instead,
I'm going to take all of my notes slides from my second unit, which is all about homeostasis.
Okay.
And it's going to immediately start parsing through all of that. And then I can add a lot more sources. And the only other thing that I'm going to add for right now is the notes packet that I give to students that we go through as we are learning the new material.
So we have your slides, which are the notes from the whole unit.
Yeah.
And then we have your review packet, and we're uploading them as sources to the notebook so that it can, this is basically you training it. Like, this is the amount of information you're allowed to use to answer queries from students, right?
That is exactly right. Perfect summary.
the tools that he shows me take less than 5 minutes for the AI to generate. It produces flashcards that have questions on one side and answers on the other, like, what are the 3 organs that make up the nervous system? Then he shows me a tool where he can ask AI to create a podcast based on his notes on the skeletal system.
So you have 4 choices for the audio overview. You have a deep dive, a brief, like very short overview, a critique where it's going to poke holes in your argument.
As a radio journalist, this actually sends shivers down my spine. The podcast hosts don't quite pass for people, but they also don't sound like robots right away either. Here's a little bit of it.
You know, we spend our lives running, lifting, maybe just balancing on 2 legs, and we hardly ever think about the structure holding it all together.
Right, it just seems solid, static.
Exactly. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at source material covering Unit 3, the skeletal system.
Champion is now in his 9th year of teaching. He counts himself as an early adopter of AI, but that doesn't mean his students have free range.
On final submissions and where you are trying to demonstrate mastery of a skill, it's absolutely zero tolerance of AI-generated work.
Champion uses Google-provided tools to scan students' final work for AI. He admits that his classroom policy is kind of a moving target.
In my classroom, I encourage students to use these AI tools as a tool, as a way to help you understand what you need to achieve better.
He also underscores that he uses the tools to help make study materials specifically from his notes, not to write lesson plans or to write tests. He also doesn't use AI to generate assignments. Now, Champion can actually track how many students use those AI study resources.
Somewhere between 80 and 85% of each of my class blocks is using these tools, based on just what the Google Classroom numbers are telling me.
In education, the pendulum on new technology swings mightily back and forth. Just 2 years ago, educators from K-12 all the way up to the college level were wringing their hands trying to figure out how they were going to catch students who were cheating using AI. Many were swearing it off entirely at the time. And that definitely still exists, but I've noticed a shift in the last year where more educators are telling me that they think they need to teach students some sort of AI literacy so that they can grow up and use these tools responsibly. Here's Champion again.
No matter how a teacher feels about AI from their worldview, we have to teach how to use these responsibly and successfully. And we also have to teach students about the cost of AI as well, which is something that I feel very fortunate that every time I've introduced an AI tool, that conversation has come up in every single one of my classes.
Champion got his start in education through the Teach for America program, which now places around 30 teachers in Milwaukee public and charter schools every year. Teach for America is often seen as an incubator for new generations of teachers, because their most common recruits are new college grads. Michael Wynn is the executive director of Teach for America Milwaukee. He says that the program's cohorts are often the first to adopt new technology for teaching. Wynn is seeing how new teachers are using the technology to lighten their own workload.
We have teachers who are translating readings for students who are English language learners. We have math teachers, and AI can generate those questions, generate those math word problems that we all remember from school.
Champion, the science teacher at Reagan High School, also uses AI to streamline teaching tasks.
When you have 160 students and I need to give feedback on a 2-paragraph long piece of writing, how do you achieve that? You have to read all of it and then give them feedback and give them opportunity to edit and then potentially additional feedback. And that ends up being really, really time consuming from the teacher perspective. And also then it means that students are further out from that feedback. I can train the Google Gem on really great examples of the writing that I want students to do. And so they can put in what they've written, and the Gem can say, well, here are 3 ways that you could consider changing your work.
Champion says the AI feedback is provided before the final draft of the assignment. He ultimately grades the student's final piece. By the way, Champion's employer, Milwaukee Public Schools, doesn't have a blanket policy on AI use, and it recently made Google Gemini available to staff. The part about the human writing the final product and a human doing the grading is really important to Brant Champion. He doesn't want AI to take the discovery or the creativity out of teaching and learning.
That's my fear, is that teachers start to use AI to build their curriculum and their lessons. And I think that there's a danger in that, because the human component of understanding material is so essential to us being able to grasp it, right? At its core, AI is just a machine, and doesn't have the emotional capacity or the attention span of a human or a student.
They haven't met. But what Champion is saying here almost exactly echoes Jillian Rogers' thoughts on AI. Roger doesn't teach high school students. She's the chair of the School of Music at UW Milwaukee. I met her when she attended a listening session held recently at UWM. The session was designed for UW Regents to gather input as they seek to hire the next president of the UW system. Roger shared with the group that she wants to see a university system leader who exercises caution in the world of AI. She pushes back on using words like thinking or creating when talking about the technology.
When you use AI, first of all, you can only trust it to make plausible combinations of words, which is all it does. There's no intelligence there. There's no knowing in AI. You can only trust it to work on things that are already well known. The other problem is that you cannot trust that the sources that it's drawing on are reliable, because you don't know what they are.
Roger teaches a history of music class as a general education course, but she spends most of her time working with musicians and performers, especially at the graduate level. To illustrate the potential dangers of AI, Roger allows students in her general course to use it for one assignment at the start of the semester. Here's what she says.
I ask them to come up with a prompt for an essay, and they must supply 5 to 10 bibliographic citations at the end. And they've got to figure out, how do they ask AI to get those results?
She says that the essays and citations that come back aren't usually very good. And that's kind of the point. Sourcing and citing works of others is a crucial skill for college and graduate level students. AI at the university level is a messy topic right now. While some agree with Roger that AI represents a fundamental threat to the humanities, there are other departments in other colleges that are reorienting their entire curriculum to implement it. In March, the Milwaukee School of Engineering announced that it would integrate applied AI into all of its degree programs. In other corners of higher ed, researchers are flying through data analysis that they used to have to hire a dozen graduate students to help sift through. But Roger says that what makes AI useful in that kind of number crunching also makes it less helpful for her students.
Rather than looking at vast quantities of raw data, what we're looking at is previous bodies of scholarship from prior generations of scholars and asking what hasn't been asked. How else might I think about this? And that is why AI fails so spectacularly in the humanities realm.
She cautions that what works for younger students in middle and high school may not work for university students, who may effectively be in a different generation based on when they started using AI. The same goes for technology that works at one corner of campus but doesn't work in another, which she mentioned at the forum with the UW Regents.
I'm lucky in that I'm on committees with scientists who've been able to articulate to me why it works for them, and I'm happy for them. I want them to use it. I just, as I said at that forum, if it's a hammer, I don't want all of us to be nails.
Whether I talk to teachers of super young students or those who are about to graduate, everyone told me that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to AI. No blanket policy is going to do it. Instead, they favor a collective set of expectations about when to use AI, how to recognize when it does make mistakes, and alternatives for the students who don't want to use it at all. For Lake Effect, I'm education reporter Katherine Kokal.
That was the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast. It comes from your local NPR station, WUWM. Subscribe to the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast to hear more great stories about Milwaukee.